The 2027 Kia Telluride, Kia's biggest SUV, is a huge deal in the US, and with this all-new model, it doubles down on everything that made the first generation famous. New turbo power, more space, and a more refined ride that families really like. As for Honda, the fourth generation Pilot has been a massive success too since it launched, but admittedly, it didn't get as big of a refresh as the Telluride. So are Honda's minor tweaks enough to keep it in the running against Kia's already massive lead? Well, let's jump right in. I mean, right off the bat, Kia seems to have went all out. The new grille is so big that it takes the entire upper half of the front end, with two distinct patterns depending on the model you get. The X-Pro gets a mesh of rectangles dotted around, while the rest of the lineup gets vertical slats with different thicknesses. The headlights are also new and extend down into the bumper with the Cybertooth DRL line and signature. Moving to the side, the silhouette is much more upright and angular, and those door handles now sit flush for a cleaner look. I do have one small niggle though. Right at the 12 o'clock position on the wheel arches, there is this weird little square mark that feels just out of place. It's less noticeable on the luxury trims with bigger wheels, but once you see it, you really can't unsee it. In terms of footprint, the Telluride has definitely grown. The wheelbase is up by 2.7 inches and it's over 2 inches longer overall. But around back, well, there is no way around it. It looks exactly like a Range Rover. Between the vertical taillights and the way the bumper corners slope, the resemblance is uncanny. There is even a character line under the logo that makes it look like a two-piece split tailgate, but it's actually just for show. Honda, on the other hand, really couldn't resist, and just like every other manufacturer, made the new grille even bigger and squarer than before with a new mesh design. The bumper is also new with a more pronounced scuff plate, while the side air curtains are now larger to further reduce drag. The side remains unchanged with the same upright stance, though the Telluride looks more assertive with its boxier look. Size-wise, however, both are pretty much identical. At the rear, not much really changed save for the skid plate looking piece and the bumper, which is now larger. Oh, and the Elite trim has new sharp gray 20-inch alloy wheels. Though again, the Kia just looks more imposing at a first glance. Jumping inside, whatever you think of the Telluride's exterior, the cabin is less polarizing and arguably pretty good looking. While the old model featured a fairly attractive design, this generation is completely new with a more horizontal look. The two-tier design wraps around the driver and passenger with boot trim and ambient lighting embedded within it. They even used real metal accents here, which gives the whole space a much more premium feel. Another big change is infotainment. The old separate screens are now gone, replaced by a massive curved panoramic display that puts it right in line with the new Sportage with the same easy-to-use interface. You'll also notice a new twist-to-action shifter behind the steering wheel that opens up a ton of space in the center console and adds things like redesigned grab handles. But it's not perfect. One major downside are the climate controls. They are now tucked away in a bit of a blind spot behind the steering wheel, which feels like a step back from the old physical buttons. Moving over to the Pilot, the cabin changes might look subtle at first, but they actually make a huge impact. The core design is still the same, but tech finally feels current, especially compared to the Telluride. You are now getting a 12.3-inch touchscreen across the entire lineup. That's a massive jump from the old 7 or 9-inch screens of the old model. Even the 10.2-inch digital cluster, which used to be locked behind the expensive trims, is now standard across the range. The new interface is much cleaner too. It takes way fewer taps to find what you need. The graphics look sharp, and while the gauges aren't super customizable, being able to pull your maps right there is a nice touch. Plus, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are also standard across the board. Now, let's talk about space. The new Telluride's wheelbase has been stretched by nearly 3 inches, and you can really feel it inside. Up front, you got tons of head and leg room, plus the seats are really supportive for those long hauls. Moving to the second row is just as roomy, and the captain's chairs specifically are easily some of the best in the segment. Now, the third row, it's still a bit tight for tall adults, so maybe keep it for kids. As for the trunk, you get 22 cubic feet with all the seats up, fold that third row down and it jumps to about 49 cubes, and if you drop everything, you are looking at over 89 cubic feet of total cargo room. It's basically a van at this point. But how does Honda stack up? Well, the Pilot's wheelbase actually stays the same this year, which makes it about 2 inches shorter than the Telluride. Up front though, you won't really notice. There is plenty of room and the seats have great side support to keep you locked in. The second row is just as impressive with some really comfy cushions, but the real story is in the back. Legroom in the third row has actually grown to over 33 inches. That makes it way more friendly for taller teens or even adults, especially compared to the Telluride. As for cargo, it's only a few cubes short of the Kia. You get about 18.5 cubes behind the third row, but fold everything down and you open up to a massive 85 cubic feet. When it comes to pricing, the 2027 Kia Telluride LX starts at $40,700 for the 8-seater. But honestly, the mid-range EX is a sweet spot. For about $45,000, you are getting the best of the best. 20-inch alloys, heated and cooled seats. If you want to go all out, the top-tier X-Line Prestige will run you nearly $55,000. Now, the Pilot is a bit of a tougher sell on paper, starting at around $42,000. If you're looking at Honda, skip the base model and go for the EXL. It hits that perfect balance of price and features with leather seats, a power liftgate, and those one-touch second-row seats for easier access. And if you need to tow, the all-wheel drive is definitely worth the extra cash. At the end of the day, if we're talking pure bang for the buck, the Telluride still takes the win here, offering more tech and more luxury for less money than the Pilot. When it comes to driving and handling, the 2027 Kia Telluride officially ditches the old V6 for a fresh 2.5-liter turbo. It's lighter, smoother, and it's paired with an 8-speed automatic that keeps things relaxed but definitely not feel lazy. And if you are looking for great MPGs, Kia is finally giving us a turbo hybrid. It's a 2.5-liter setup with electric assist and a 6-speed that's more about smooth and steady power. But where Kia really leans in this year is capability. The X-Line toughens things up with more aggressive styling and raised roof rails, but the X-Pro, you are getting higher ride height, actual all-terrain tires, and a more advanced all-wheel drive system. It gives the Telluride some real confidence on muddy tracks, snow days, or those rough roads. At the end of the day, it's still a family SUV at heart, but Kia gave it just enough grit to go a lot further than most people would expect. But here is where Honda fires back. Under its hood is a 3.5-liter V6, and while it may seem quieter, it's actually unchanged, pushing out 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque through a 10-speed automatic. Now, this powertrain won't win you any drag races, but the throttle response is nice and linear, and that 10-speed is incredibly smooth. On the road, the Pilot feels rock solid, but for 2026, it actually gets better. Honda retuned the power steering, which gives you a more relaxed weight on the highway and a much more connected feel through the corners. But the real headline is how quiet it is. They added semi-tempered door glass and extra insulation throughout the cabin. If you step up to the Touring or Elite trims, you even get enclosed fender liners that cut road noise by another 3 decibels. Honestly, the level of refinement inside the cabin is so good, it might actually beat out what you are getting in the new Telluride. So, we have finally arrived to the choice. Well, which one should you choose? Well, I think it's really simple. If you can get past the Telluride's controversial looks and lower residual value, then it's a really good buy, especially at lower trim levels. But if you want something reliable and that will hold its resale value come sale time, then nothing beats the Pilot.